Hi guys, Uncle Jesse here. I was reading through some of the comments, and somebody said that they would like to hear another story. And a few days ago, I was looking at comments on a couple videos I did a while back, several days ago, last week, whatever. And somebody had talked about something that reminded me of a story, and most all of my stories are true stories that I tell you about what happened in my life experiences. But anyway, this story happens to take place back in the late 80s. Might have been the early 90s. I really don't remember. But as you know, I was a civil service worker. I worked in the maintenance department, the county maintenance department, which we took care of the city, county, governmental buildings as it was listed, which consist of the fire stations, the EMS stations, the libraries, the county courthouse, which was in the city, and 225 Pine Avenue, Albany, Georgia. And it had the old jail on the back of it. Now they got a new jail which looks like a freaking prison. But back then it had the old jail on the back of the courthouse. And down on the ground floor they had the county police, the city police, and the sheriff's department. And yes, I was a deputized sheriff for the main fact that we had back in those days, it wasn't uncommon for you to get a bomb threat. And I had the key to every door in the city and the county. I mean, I had all the keys to Cheehawk Park, which is the animal park. And yes, I got some stories about the animals too, because when you're taking care of the heating and the air conditioning of the city, county, and governmental buildings and the wild animal park, which they got a good sized wild animal park there with all types of animals from all over the world. Anyway, I took care of all that. And so I also took care of the secretive drug squad building, which at that time it was in one of the old fire stations, decommissioned fire station. They built a new fire station down the street from it. So they had took up residence in one of the old decommissioned fire stations. And the fire stations have really, really tall ceilings with open duct work and the pipes running up there and where they park the trucks and stuff. Well, what they had done when they remodeled this building for the drug squad is they come in and they put false ceilings in. Well, when you go into the mechanical room in this certain old decommissioned fire station that the drug squad took over, you go into the mechanical room, you go up the ladder, and you go into the up above the false ceilings in the whole building, and you can walk around the whole building up above the false ceilings, and that's another good story. But anyway, I had got in my head that I was a young guy, late 20s. I had got in my head that after working here several years and seeing what's going on and what's taking place in our governments. And boy, that's a weird shadow right there. Anyway, what's going on in the government here? God, the corruption, man, it's just corrupt. And the problem with our budgets and taxes going up, and we need more taxes for bigger budgets and bigger budgets and bigger budgets. Well, one of the problem with the budgets is Now, in our case, in our department, in the maintenance department, our supervisor come to us and he said, guys, it's getting about budget time, and we have a surplus of $800,000, and we need to spend it. And he said we need to spend it within the next 6 or 7 weeks, something to that effect. And he said, so I want y'all to come up with a list of all new tools. I want everybody to give me a list of all new tools, toolboxes you would like to have, just any kind of equipment that you would like to have, so we can absorb this money and spend it and get it off the books, because we have to come up with a new budget for next year, and we don't want to lose any money. As a matter of fact, we want to get more money. And so we were like, is there going to be any budgets for any raises for the employees? No. We're not worried about that. You get your normal 3.5% per year. You know, that's the kind of raises you get, and that's going to be that. We're worried about coming up with more money, just in case we need it. We'll have it. So he said we need to spend this money so we can come up with a bigger budget for next year, so we'll have extra money if we need it. And so we asked him about, can we put some raises in these budgets, you know? And he was like, oh no, you're going to get your 3.5%. That's basically what government employees have been getting forever, between 1.5% and 3.5% raise, which is just pennies each year or each month extra in your check. Kind of like being retired. That's basically the way, you know, your government pension's going to be. Your retired folks' Social Security checks, you're just going to get 1.5%, 2.5%, 3.5% at the most. Last year was a fluke. I think we got like 8, almost 9%, which was freaking unheard of in the last 40 years. But anyway, so he was like, we got to spend this money so we can be negative on the books when we go and present our new budget. We're coming up with that right now, and we're going to present our new budget, and I don't remember what the budget was, some god-awful astronomical number, because in government, and here's their big thing, like we come to our director and we said, look, the 2 boilers we have up in this building, we had 2 boilers, and the water system was so corroded with calcium inside the lines, because it works on a chill water and hot water system in these old buildings, and most of the new buildings are the same way with cooling towers and such. And we were like, you know, these old cast iron pipes are so corroded on the inside that they don't get a whole lot of flow, especially to the old jail. They didn't have any heat. It was like a damn ice box in there during the wintertime, and during the summertime it was like an oven, because of the corrosion inside the water lines. And it's hard to keep that down. No matter how good you treat the water, you're going to have, especially in our area there, they didn't call it the Artesian City for nothing, because we was floating on a damn island of fresh water. But the minerals in the water, we had to soften the water, which helped a lot. You know, in softening water, you get rid of all the lime and hard minerals in the water. But anyway, we told them, look, we need to replace this system, because we're going to have a catastrophic fail And just, they have the mindset, all governments have this mindset, all departments in our government have this mindset that no, we're not going to replace it. We can't justify replacing it, but we can justify repairing it. So just keep repairing it and just tell us what you need to keep it going, and we'll get you what you need. Well, what they're telling you is, no, we're not going to take the cheaper way out and replace this whole system, this old equipment in this building, and remodel it. We're not going to do that. We're going to keep the old system, and we're going to patch and fix and patch and fix. And that way we can delegate money any way we please and get a bigger budget next year for patching and fixing same old systems. That's the way they think. Makes no sense to me, but that's the way they think across the board, and that's what's wrong. One of the reasons that our country's in such dire straits it's in right now, instead of ripping this shit out and putting in cheaper, more economical equipment, they just patchwork the old equipment, and they will keep patchworking that old equipment for another 100 years because it's to their advantage. And you could just imagine what that advantage is when, oh, we need this parts, or we need this much material, or we need this much pipe. Me being the director in control of this big budget, let me go over here to my buddy at this company, and we'll get a estimate from him. We'll go over to my buddy over here, and we'll get an estimate for him. We'll talk amongst ourselves, and then we'll see which one's got the cheaper estimate, and we'll go with that one. But what they don't tell you is the one that's got the cheaper estimates done worked out a deal. They can funnel money back to this director. And I'm not calling out anybody. I'm not calling out any names. But I'll let you know further on in the story about what happens to people that do that. And I'm sure y'all can figure that one out too. Just be creative. But whistleblowers, they call it. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the reason I wanted to run for mayor. And I was like, that and this secretive drug squad we got going on over here, God knows, boy, y'all should have seen the shit I seen going on with that. And that got me into a lot of trouble. Oh, yeah. Hoo-hoo. President Trump's going through the same thing. Russell Brand right now is figuring out what can happen to you if you try to stand up for your freedoms and what's right. You'll find out what happens. So anyway, back to the story. So I said, shoot, you know what? I need to throw in my hat for mayor, do a little campaigning. Who knows? I might become the mayor of the city, and maybe I can help the people make a little change, and let's get these budgets in control, because they're talking about raising the taxes 2 cents per millage, and when you think about that, it's just 2 pennies per millage, blah blah. Well, you know what? When you're broke as hell and you're struggling to feed your family, and you're only getting a 1.5%, 2.5%, 3.5% raise every year, and some people don't even get that if they're working for the private sector. It's kind of hard to make ends meet, and 90% of our population living paycheck to paycheck, Probably more than that, because they say that rich is only 1%, and the middle class is basically non-existent anymore. So our middle class is basically gone from the face of the earth, and who knows when it's going to come back. It's just going to get worse. But anyway, back to the story. So I was talking to a few people, and I was like, let's get a campaign started and let's run for mayor. Let me run for mayor, and see if I can reel in some of these guys. Kind of hold them back, and let's see if we can lower the taxes and lower everything, and let's get everything straight. Because I seen corruption in this department, a shitload of corruption in the police departments. Some horrible things I saw going on in the secretive drug squad. You may not think about it, but the drug squad in your city, county, or wherever you're at, don't matter where you're at in the United States, each county, each city has a drug squad. It's what they call them, drug enforcement. Well, these guys, they're a totally separate entity. They're like a little country in themselves. They get their budget. They don't have to answer to anybody. Everybody in that fucking town don't even know who they are. It's like black ops. You're a deep cover. You could be talking to these guys on a daily basis every day out on the street thinking, this son of a bitch is a damn drug addict, drug dealer. What? Man, get the fuck on from me. And he could be a cop, undercover for the drug squad. Because the drug squad is the lowly of the low cops. If you get in trouble over here in this department for some reason, doesn't matter. And it's bad enough that they're going to suspend you without pay. They're not going to fire you. That's what I don't understand about the police departments in the United States. They're not going to fire you unless they can use you for their political gain. Now, if you do something, even if it's right, and it goes public, and somebody says, oh, he beat him up, or whatever, they're going to jump on board with that, especially if you're a good cop, if you're a white hat. They're going to jump on board with that, and they're going to nail your ass in the ground. Literally. They're going to stomp you right down and say, look what we're doing for the people. It's all bullshit. Anyway, back to the mayor's race. So I'm talking to a few people. I'm talking to my attorney. Some of my good friends are attorneys in the United States. Yeah, in where I grew up. I went to school with a couple of top-notch attorneys. Went to high school with these guys and know them pretty well. And we partied together and dated together and, had a good old time back when we were kids. And some of them are big men in that town in South Georgia. Anyway, so I'm talking to different people, and a lot of people think it's a good idea. Even my brother's friends, my oldest brother, he retired from the Marine base. He worked civil service for the government, did a lot of work in Japan. The government, United States government, sent him to Alaska. They sent him to Japan, and I really don't know my second oldest brother that well because I was never around him. By the time I was 5 years old, he was gone and out of the house, grown, and he did his Vietnam gig. My oldest brother did 2 tours, I think, Vietnam in the late '60s when I was just a little toddler. And so I was raised like an only child because I was the baby of the bunch. But back to the mayor story. So I'm walking down the hall of the courthouse, and I'm going to check something on one of the upper floors. And I just happened to be, I believe it was the second floor where the judges' chambers were and offices. And the Chief Justice, Judge Gray, he walked out of his office and said, "Hey, Jess." And they called me Red. "Hey, Red," because my hair was red. "Red, come here. I need to talk to you, boy." And I did an about face, "Yes, sir." And, you got the head judge of the whole county and city telling you, "Come here, I need to talk to you." Well, you're going to stand at attention and run your happy ass over there and see what this man wants, because he's a very important person. And me and him are good friends. I've been good friends most of my life. He's a good, honorable man. And I hope you're doing well, Judge Gray. Hope everything's doing good for you. I'm doing great. And this entails my whole story. He said, "Come into my office." So we went into his office, went past the secretary, went back into his private office. He closed the door. He said, "Sit down." Well, at this point, I'm getting nervous. I'm like, oh my God, what in the hell have I done now? Because back then I was a good boy. I mean, I didn't do anything wrong. I mean, I had never had a speeding ticket, none of that. And I'm sitting there and I'm nervous. He sits down in his chair, and he says, "I hear you want to run for mayor." He's a big old fella. He's about 6'2", 6'4", somewhere in there. 240 pounds, lean, mean, big man. Big, powerful man. And I was like, "Yes, sir, I'm thinking about running for mayor, And he says, "Well, Red, why you want to run for mayor?" And I was like, "Well, Judge, I want to kind of quell the corruption I see going on around me. Let me give you an example about, our director coming down and telling us we need to spend all this money, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, on tools we don't need, on toolboxes. We definitely got 10 toolboxes up here in the mechanical room that are empty because, we got all the tools we need. We got everything we need. What we need is new equipment, but, mechanical equipment, but they don't want to spend the money on the mechanical equipment. They want to keep patching it. And for some reason, it seems to me like they want to keep patching it because I believe they're getting kickbacks from buying the supplies from the people that they're keeping this equipment patched and blah, 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 blah. And Judge says, "Well, Jessie, that's not a good idea." And I was like, "Well, why, Judge? Shouldn't we try to do the best we can do and help the people? I mean, the people need relief on taxes, and the best way to do that is to cut our budgets down. And if we can cut our budgets down to a bare minimum, then we can actually lower taxes instead of raising taxes. Don't you think that'd be a good thing?" And he shook his head and he said, "Jessie, you just don't understand, son." He said, "They will fucking kill you." He said, "If you think you can run for mayor, go right ahead." He said, "If you think you can win the mayoral race, go work your little heart out." But he said, "If you think you're going to quell the corruption that goes on in this town, in this county, in this world," he said, "you're not going to be able to help anybody." He said, "It's going to destroy your life. The reason I called you in my office when I got wind of this," he said, "I called you in here to protect you, son." He said, "You're a good boy." He said, "You got a family. You have small children." He said, "Go live your life. Be a maintenance man. Be the air conditioning tech. Take care of us. That's your job in life. Taking care of people. You found your calling. Don't make it worse." He said, "Because they will kill you. I have heard through the grapevine that if you actually win the mayoral race, bad things are going to befall you. So the best thing you can do, Jessie, is to just quit all this nonsense and go back to being the maintenance man we all love around here. because you're living in a fantasy world if you think you're going to change things by running for mayor. And I was like, well, damn, Judge, that sounds horrible. They're going to kill me? Who is they? He said, I really don't want to get into that, son. He said, but I'm telling you, there's certain factions of our government that are evil. And all we can do is try to work around it, because it's going to be hell to pay if we try to stand up against it and fix it. And I was like, well, Judge, you just broke my little heart. I didn't tell him that, but I was like, yes, sir, I don't think I'll be throwing my name in the hat for the mayor's race. I think I'll just bow out of the political arena. And thank you for your insights. And I think I'll just keep my mouth shut and tell my friends to just forget about it. And as a matter of fact, I need to make a phone call. He said, who do you need to make a phone call to? I said, I need to make a phone call to the print shop and my lawyer and tell them I've decided not to run. He said, now there's a good boy. Go back to your business and let other people worry about the government. And he said, by the way, Jessie, I got a question for you. I was like, yes, sir. And I won't forget this as long as I live. He said, where would you like to live? What kind of place would you like to live in? He says, you're a good guy. You're an honest guy. Everybody says you're an honest, you're a man of your word. He said, where would you like to live? And I thought about that a minute. I said, well, you know what? If I could find the real Mayberry, USA, I'd really like to live there. He looked down at his desk and looked back up at me and he said, I'm sorry, Jessie, but the days of Mayberry, USA is over with and you'll never find it. And I was like, yeah, Judge, I understand that, but it would still be nice. You asked me the question, I give you the answer. That's where I would like to live, Mayberry, USA. And with that, I got up, shook his hand, and walked out of his office. Went against my happy ass way. So, there's my story. That's a true story. That really happened to me. I really was going to run for mayor. And I got told what would happen if I did run for mayor. And I did try to implement the things that I thought would help the taxpayers of my area, which, you know, that's the way your government works. But Judge, I love you and I respect you and I hope all is well in your world. But I found my Mayberry. Good day.